to introduce my friend David Wedaman. David got inducted into the society 2 years ago and has been a lot of fun. I don't even really need to say very much because I know that he doesn't need any kind of introduction. But reading his bio, I'm so impressed. He started his company in 2002, and he's already grown it to within the last 7 years, 32 offices, 250 employees, and revenues exceeding $250 million. I don't think I need to say anything else because we've got a real entrepreneur right here with us. David, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Pearson. And I used to, before I did all that, I was 6'6" and didn't have any gray hair also. You know, it's kind of frightening to come up to talk about how do you become an entrepreneur or whatever it is that we are, because everybody has an opinion on how to do it, and the true story is there's not one right or one wrong way to do it. I was traveling this week and in the airport, and I stopped and picked up a Wall Street Journal, and startups, even the Wall Street Journal will tell you how to do it. Startups on a shoestring, how you too can start a company for $150. So, you know, it's amazing how many people have an opinion about how to do things. And usually when I'm talking to a group, I'm not getting paid for it. Nobody's putting any money in. So I always say my opinion is worth what you paid for it. So remember, your lunch was worth $25 today, okay? You know, that's the deal. The other couple other things to remind you, Pearson said this is a discussion. Discussion means it's a two-way street. So please stop me, ask questions, because I will bore you to death if you don't. I've been lucky, very, very lucky, very blessed. Retrans is actually the second company that I've participated in starting. And people say, well, did you ever want to just start a company? I said, no, never thought about it. But at one point in time back in the 80s, I was going to get transferred to Oakland, California. Worked for a company, turned them down one time, turned them down a second time, knew I was fast along the line to become director of paper clips. Had a 1-year-old daughter at the time, a young woman named Ree, thus the company's name, Retrans. So I decided that we'd started a company called Mark 7. So my point for that is just remember one thing. Desperation can make you do wonderful things. And I was desperate. I had no clue. Didn't know what I was doing. And was just blind hog lucky. But after thinking about it, knowing that everybody's always got an opinion about how to do all this stuff, I thought I'd maybe digress a little bit. And people talk about, you know, to start a company you need a good accountant, you need good planning, you need good financial statements, you need people like Cindy Womack to back you up, you got to do all this kind of stuff, and that is true. But I really want to talk just a little bit more about something else, about how you do as a person. More from my perspective of what an entrepreneur is. First of all, companies, in my opinion, have a personality. Every company has a personality. And sadly, that personality is developed by the guy in charge or the gal in charge, whether you like it or not. When I got out of school, I have an accounting degree. Yeah, I'm a bean counter. Frontal lobotomy, drug treatment, it's working. Not quite over it. Worked for Arthur Anderson. Yeah, I still have my shredder. I digress. But the deal is, you've got to start having a personality with your company. When I was, my first job in the logistics business, because that's what I do, I move stuff, I'm in the logistics business, I should probably say what Retrans is. I was an internal auditor of a company. Well, that's got to be the worst job in the world. I said, not only do people, when I was an internal auditor, didn't listen to me, they ignored me. Well, the scary part about it is when you get promoted and you get a title, not only do they listen to what you say, they try to interpret what you're saying and try to figure out what do you really mean. So the key is you got to remember that it's your personality that you're trying to set, and you got how you carry yourself. What do you mean? If it's my attorney, I'll be there in a minute. That's the kind of stuff that's very important. I mean, my good friend Mike Bruns has a certain personality that he put into his company. Remember that. As you carry yourself around as the boss, or even leading anything, it is your personality that you're giving out to, because everybody's going to try to mimic the boss. You may not want that to happen, it simply does. So pay close attention to that. The other thing, as the leader of a company, remember one other thing. They're paying attention to the small things that you do. They're paying attention to the small things to do. When you start a company or you have a company and you're standing up by the receptionist desk and the phone rings and reception is off doing something, answer the phone. You know, one time I answered the phone and the guy goes, "What are you doing answering the phone?" I said, "It was ringing." Now, did I know how to transfer it very well? Yeah. You know, you might have to hold them for a little bit. I one time said, not anymore, but I'm aging myself a little bit, the two most important people in a company, any company at all that has any size, the receptionist that answers the phone and the mailroom. Because if you don't get your mail, now fortunately we have email now, we don't get much mail, but in my business I still get a lot of bills. Hopefully get a few checks to go with those bills, but get a lot of bills. The receptionist and the mailroom. Because if you call in, if your customer calls in and doesn't get to you, you're SOL. You're done. It's the small things. It's not the big things. It's not coming up with some great idea. It's about execution. What I do in my business of logistics, we're a 3PL, we're the middleman in moving stuff. It's very easy. It's a very simple business. But you have to execute every day. We do over 250,000 transactions a year. You have to execute every day. So it's all about the small stuff. One of the other things that people that are in charge have a neglect to do sometimes, in my mind, is to undo their mistakes. We make a decision. By golly, we're going to do this. Off we go. And man, everybody is supposed to line up and charge down the hill with me, right, or up the hill. When you figure out it's wrong, undo it. There's great examples of that. One of the ones I always use is FedEx Zap Mail. That was a brilliant idea. It helped fax machines become, proliferate everywhere. But they undid their mistake. They got away from it. It didn't wreck the company, but they undid their mistakes. Too many companies, too many people get tied to their decision and want to ride it forever and ride it into the dirt because they won't change their mind. Undo your mistake and admit it. That also helps you with your employees. It helps you with your customers. I was on a call this week in Charlotte. We had done some good things with this customer, it's a big customer of ours, and we had done some bad things. And I went in and said, look, we screwed some stuff up. We have fixed how we were doing it. We undid our mistake and took the hit. The customer was very appreciative of the fact that you said you messed up before you started. That's very important. First of all, they couldn't yell at me. He said, well, how can you yell at him? He's already admitted it. It's like when your kid comes home and admits. It takes all the steam out of you sometimes, that you should do that. Another issue that I think that people in working with companies is hiring. People have a tendency to always want to hire people that are like them. Well, that's frightening if you think about myself. Why would you want to hire anybody like me? Don't get trapped in hiring people that are like yourself. You need multiple talents, you need different types of personalities, and you need to encourage them. Now, they'll probably drive you crazy because they do have multiple personalities and different things and things like that, but encourage differences. You've got to encourage differences, because if not, we'll go back to that everybody going down the hill together. You need somebody occasionally that'll stand up to you and go, hey dummy, this is not what we want to do here. You want to encourage different personalities. The other thing is hire slow and fire slower. And what I mean by that is I've been blessed. I've got some people that have worked with me for 20 years. Why they put up with it, I have not a clue. But they are such a great core group of people who support the organization. And by doing that, and by supporting them, I know where they are all the time. We talk in shorthand because they know the answer before they ask the question. And you get this great sense of loyalty. And also, it makes it a lot more fun when you have people around you that you care about and it has done, you know, things to work out that way. One planning comment. Don't ever use your best scenario when you plan, because you're never going to do your best scenario. You may do better than it, but you're never going to do it. Being an old bean counter, remember the one thing about budgets, they're only made to be broken. You never make them. If you did, you cheated. Okay? So don't use your best one. An example of that, I may step on some toes with people who sell computer systems and information systems. I have a favorite line. Somebody comes in to sell you a computer system, double the price and double the time, and if you still want it, buy it. Because it always seems to take longer to implement and more expensive to do that. Talk about some mistakes that I've made. And then I'm going to shut up and hopefully you'll have questions. One of the things that I've not done as good a job as I'd like is to not become my business. Have a balanced life. Don't become your business. Nobody likes that, because then you become one-dimensional and you forget things. Have balance in your life. I was very lucky when I started Mark 7, or when we started Mark 7, I had my daughter Maria, who I call Ree, that's why we got Retrans, was 1 year old. And it was wonderful to be able to come home at night after getting beat up all day long and being busy and get on the floor and play whatever it was we were playing. She didn't care. We had fun. And within 30 minutes, you were a lot more relaxed. Keep that balance. Keep the balance in your life. It'll also make you better with your customers. It'll make you better with your employees. And the other final thing is celebrate your successes. Have fun with it. Say, golly, that was great. We had a good time. We did good. Because by the way, when you mess up, everybody knows it. And you're going to celebrate that too. Not in such a good way. But if you don't celebrate your successes, and I can tell you I have not done a good job of that always, and I'm still working on it. I'm a work in progress. Have fun and celebrate your successes, because then it makes it worthwhile. It makes it where you can enjoy what you're doing. So that's it. You know, go home, go back to work, and do whatever.